Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 7th episode of the story, in which Uzumaki Naruto awakens one day to discover that his life has been transformed into an RPG game due to his gamer ability. What should he do about it? Naruto is smart. This story is from Seer King. Please support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. The next day, Taijutsu sparring circle, Konohagakure Ninja Academy. Naruto dodged out of the way of the incoming fist, diving in close to his opponent and driving an elbow right into Shino's solar plexus, making him fall back with a grunt and wheeze. Damn Shino. You're tough. The blonde boy said appraisingly. Thank you, Uzumaki-san. The Aburame heir said in a monotone, you are stronger than you appear to be. I shall have to try harder. Bring it. Naruto grinned. Shino was a nice guy, totally non-judgmental and calm. He could use some help in modulating his voice though. This was the first time Naruto had faced against Shino and his family's Kamakiri style, praying mantis, taijutsu. As Aburame were primarily mid-range combatants, it was a defensive style that relied on precision strikes and exploiting the weakness in the enemy's style to land blows at critical junctures in combat. It was different from both the Hokage style and whatever style Sasuke team used, as both of those were either neutral or offensive styles. The spar continued for a few minutes before Naruto kicked Shino's legs out from under him and placing a heel on his throat, which would allow him to crush it and leave the boy to suffocate if this were a true fight. Cease. Iruka-sensei declared, the winner is Uzumaki Naruto. Congratulations. Yadadada bayo. Naruto grinned before he removed his foot from Shino's neck and extended a hand to help him up. The Aburame heir grasped it and hauled himself up before both he and Naruto made the sign of reconciliation. Your skills have made a determinable improvement, Uzumaki-san. Shino stated, I shall have to up my training to compensate. Looking forward to seeing the results. The blonde orphan smirked. As they both exited the sparring circle, Naruto surreptitiously closed the window that had popped up. Congratulations. The quest, Catch the Fly, has been completed. You successfully defeated Aburame Shino in a sparring match. Quest reward, plus 500 EXP, plus 200 reputation with Aburame Shino, plus 1000 Ryo. Bonus reward, first sparring victory, advanced Hokage style taijutsu, skill book. The last part made Naruto's mood sour slightly. The only reason that this was his first victory in a spar was that he had always been pitted against Sasuke team before now. As much as it burned Naruto to admit it, the Uchiha was way more skilled at taijutsu than he was. Worse, Sasuke was using what had to be a clan taijutsu style rather than the Hokage style, so his strength, toughness and dexterity bonuses were very likely to be higher than his own. Still, now that I have this new skill book, I can upgrade my taijutsu once I max out the intermediate Hokage style that I'm using right now. He thought. Sasuke smirked as he watched Naruto out of the corner of his eye. It was right that the dobe would become stronger after getting his butt kicked by him all the time. If his rival didn't keep getting stronger in pace with him, there was no point in having him as such. A slightly puzzled Naruto closed a window informing him he had gained 50 relationship with Uchiha Sasuke. Meanwhile, Mizuki was cursing at him vilely behind his teacher mask, and wondering how to sabotage him now, when he had seemed to have catch on to all of the tricks the Chunin had pulled up until this point. He was performing his taijutsu kata perfectly, his throwing form was spot on and Mizuki daren't risk another mistaken test mix-up after the last time. Iruka's becoming suspicious. Tch. The man thought, it can't be helped. I'll just have to back off for a couple of months. It isn't as if the demon will become too strong by the end of that time. As he thought that, the strap on his sandals snapped. A complete coincidence. After the Academy Ichiraku's ramen stand and then, blam. I had him beat, GG. Naruto said to the Hokage, who listened indulgently as they waited for their ramen. A well-earned victory, Naruto-kun. He congratulated his surrogate grandson. The Aburame Taijutsu style is not easily overcome, although I can assure you that Shino-kun will be training hard to become stronger now that you have defeated him once. Really? Shino doesn't seem like the competitive type. Naruto said in puzzlement. True. Most Aburame are not competitive in general. The old man agreed, but while they attempt to be extremely logical as much as possible, they are only human, so things such as competitiveness do tend to crop up every now and again, especially when they're younger. Huh. Makes sense. The boy nodded. It must be hard to be so stoic and logical all the time. I couldn't manage it at all. There are always exceptions to every rule and clan trait. Sarutobi chuckled, such as a Yamanaka who cannot use their mind-walking jutsu or a Sarutobi who cannot use Katon or Doton ninjutsu. Granted, they might be rare, but they do happen. I'd guess that the clans don't like that. Naruto asked. Sadly no. They usually send the child to the orphanage or set them up with a home and caretaker until they either graduate from the academy or turn 18. The Hokage side would have made that latter practice a requirement if it were entirely my choice, but the Shinobi clans have spent quite some time working on keeping the Hokage out of clan business, so shoot down any law that would force them to do something they do not wish to do. Why not start it as a civilian clan law? Naruto suggested. If it works there, you could suggest it as expanding into the Shinobi section of the law after a few years. This took the Hokage back. He had never tried that tack, but now that Naruto suggested it, it actually did make more sense. Unlike the Shinobi clans, the civilian clans of Konoha mainly focused on stopping any law that might cut into their profits, for the merchants, or support the demon, for the morons. A law such as what Sarutobi had spoken of would be an entirely civilian matter if he proposed it Naruto's way, meaning that the opinions of the Shinobi clans would be discounted and they wouldn't be able to vote about it. Plus, with a few years of success in the civilian system, it would be harder to argue against it rather than a completely untried and untested law. I may very well do that, Naruto-kun. He said thoughtfully, mentally tallying the resources needed to execute such a law and finding them to be well in place should the law pass. The civilians were very stingy when it came to spending their funding, leaving it to mount up for quite some time, just in case, when Sarutobi knew, for a fact, that it went towards at least one extravagant party per year. This would teach them to be skinflints. Naruto noticed that he had gained a further plus 100 to his relationship with the Hokage and was once again puzzled. He was drawn from his puzzlement by the delicious smell of ramen wafting closer to him. Here's your ramen, Naruto-kun, Hokage-sama. Tucci boomed with a smile as he laid down the bowls in front of his customers. Even the Hokage had to admit that the man was a genius when it came to cooking ramen, and his mouth started watering as he gazed at his meal. Itadakimasu. Naruto said happily, tucking into the Ichiraku ramen specialty. The Uzumaki Deluxe. Featuring almost every ingredient you could combine in ramen, with a high-quality broth that blended the flavors perfectly. All in all, it was the most delicious ramen Naruto had ever eaten, and he only ate it on special occasions, such as his birthday, if he could make it to Ichiraku's without incident, and any especially good days he had had, which were few and far between. Winning his first sparring match, ever, counted in his book. How has Asuma been getting along? The Hokage asked in between bites. Mef. He likes the place. Naruto replied, slurping up the noodles faster than most would think was physically possible. No other place has all those training rooms. There's even a shuriken and mid-range jutsu range in the basement. I had no idea about that until he found it. Databayo. Sounds like him. Sarutobi said in amusement. He always did like exploring his home as a child. It fails to surprise me that that continued into adulthood. The Uzumaki boy had visions of a Chibi Asuma running around a huge clan compound and had to chuckle at the thought. Then something occurred to him. Najiji. I haven't seen a Sarutobi clan compound around. He said with a thoughtful expression on his face, is there one? Have I just been looking in the wrong place? Is it big? There was a large one, back before the Second Great Ninja War. The Hokage informed his surrogate grandson, it was damaged badly in a sneak attack by infiltrators from Iwagakure and was abandoned. It has since been demolished and new housing built over it. The Sarutobi live in a small compound in the clan residential district now. Well, small for the clan residential district anyway. As for myself, I live in the Hokage Tower most of the time, but go back to spend the night with Asahi and his family every now and again. Aren't you lonely? The boy asked in concern. Sarutobi just chuckled and ruffled Naruto's hair, making him pout. No, I'm not. The Hokage said kindly, I consider each and every member of the village to be my own family, so I'm never alone. Naruto stared at the Hokage in awe. That must be tough when they go nuts and attack people like that guy with the ninjato a few months back. I know who you mean. Sarutobi nodded wearily. He lost his brother during the day of the Kyubi and never recovered from it, drowning his sins away in cheap rotgut day in and day out. That incident was when he finally snapped, I'm afraid. He really took good care of that sword, now I come to think about it. The boy mused, it looked better than new. It was a relic of his brother's ninja career. He cared for it obsessively, only cleaning himself up when he had to polish and maintain it. The Hokage said despondently, despair is like an illness, Naruto-kun. It can bring even the mightiest ninja low, break the proudest of people into something unrecognizable. The man who attacked you had hit rock bottom and didn't have the strength to try and stand back up again. That was because he closed himself off and didn't allow others to help him. Learn from him in this, Naruto-kun, no man is an island. Accept help if you cannot do something yourself and offer help if you see someone cannot do something themselves. Naruto nodded solemnly, ignoring the window informing him that his WIS had just gone up by 1 for listening to the Hokage's lecture. Will do, Gigi. He said. Later training ground 13 entrance, okay, today's goal is to finally level up to level 15. Naruto pumped himself up as he jogged towards the gate leading into the training ground. He was in good form today after his spar with Shino and he was looking forward to finally getting to that next level. Given how Sasuke was at level 15 and had been for a while, it was safe to assume that there was a level limit that stopped academy students from becoming too powerful. His stat increases were also slowly coming less and less frequently. He was willing to be that they would stop once they reached a certain point as well. With still 3 or 4 months left until graduation, it was going to become tedious if he couldn't level up. Well, I guess I can focus on mastering my jutsu if that happens. He reasoned to himself. He didn't like the idea of only being able to train his jutsu, but he could see how useful it would be to have them all maxed out, or at least on the way there. Entering the first area, the blonde orphan frowned. Although he didn't like the cliché, it really was too quiet in the forest. No birds chirping, no sound of the mutated squirrels fighting each other, nothing. Had someone come in to do some training of their own and killed them? Drawing a kunai, he continued his advance into the training ground, senses screaming at him that something stank about this situation. As far as he knew, he was the only person who used TG-13 for anything, and he was certain his Gigi would have let him know that he was sending someone in to clear the place. Very suspicious. Not a single attack. Yep, someone's been through here and cut down all the chakra mutations. Naruto thought nervously. His instincts were currently screaming at him that this situation was abnormal and that he should get out of there as fast as he could. And that he should eat some ramen, but that was normal for him. Leaving the first area and moving to the second, Naruto was yet again struck by how uncannily silent the training ground was, without the usual sounds of animals and chakra mutants filling it. Even the wind was silent, removing the usual background sound of rustling leaves that was almost omnipresent in Konoha. It was really unsettling. Yo, brat. The muffled voice of a man startled Naruto as he seemed to melt out of the tree in front of him. He wore a cloth mask over his face and had a battered Konoha Hitai 8 on his forehead. Much to Naruto's mild horror, he also wore a black spandex jumpsuit that showed that he had definitely eaten all the pies. Yamaguchi Tetsuro LV-25, rotund retired Chunin, the man's title was brutally accurate. Who are you? Naruto asked, playing dumb. My name is of no importance. Tetsuro spat disdainfully, I am here to put an end to you, demon brat. Aw man, don't tell me you're the one who let those nuke-nin into Konoha the other day? Naruto complained as he shifted to a defensive stance. I had nothing to do with it, brat. The man sniffed snootily, I only wish that they had managed to kill you so I didn't have to bother. Bloodlust detected. Immediately behind you. Without hesitating, Naruto hit the dirt and rolled over, dodging the swipe of the ninjato that would have beheaded him. A man dressed similarly to Tetsuro gaped at him for a moment before Naruto lashed out with his right leg, slamming his foot right into his assailant's groin. Letting out a mix between a pained moan and a yell of outrage, the man crumpled to the ground and assumed the fetal position, cupping his battered family jewels as he whimpered in pain. Tadakatsu Tomo LV-20, retired genin, you little bastard. Tetsuro roared and pulled a kunai from somewhere, hurling it at Naruto with practiced ease. Dodging to one side, Naruto noticed something odd in one corner of his vision, a timer. It was at 4:54 and was rapidly counting down to 0. No quest had popped up to explain what the hell was going on, and he didn't have the legroom to look up the guide, so he'd just have to hope it was something that might help him here. Dear sweet Kami, he's brat, a female voice complained, can't you two slobbering morons do anything right? Shut up woman and help us. Tetsuro barked. Never send a man to do a woman's job. The female voice grumbled and a woman dressed in black spandex apparently walked out of a tree, ninjato in hand. Kagami Kodama LV-26, retired Chunin Kunoichi, another Kagami. Man, these guys have it out for me. Naruto thought privately. He noticed that the timer sped up, a minute and a half dropping from the countdown. He was also willing to be that the same thing had happened when the second man had launched his attack against him. 3:02, I don't suppose you people would be willing to tell me why you're doing this? Naruto asked casually as he shifted his grip on his kunai and tried to keep an eye on all three of the enemy at once. You already know what you did, demon. Kodama spat darkly, now die. She lunged forwards and tried to impale Naruto on the blade of her sword, but Naruto was able to dodge away from the woman's attack, muttering, observe, as he did so. He used his little skill on all three of his opponents and noticed one thing that was universal among them, their stats were all crap. They were suffering from a special status called, out of practice, meaning that it had been years since they had even picked up a weapon in anger. They had trained, just not enough to prevent the gradual degradation of their skills. The guy who had been a genin was particularly bad, Naruto dominated him in every category aside from LUK. You know, you guys kinda suck at this whole assassination thing. He remarked as he dodged another swipe of a ninjato with relative ease, but before we really get into this, I have got to ask why the hell are you all wearing spandex? There was a moment of infuriated silence as the two upright attackers seemed to glare at him for daring to mention the spandex. Well, we can't exactly wear proper shinobi outfits, can we? The prone man groaned, oh, my fucking balls. Oh, stop massaging your balls and stand up already. Kodama said impatiently, men. I swear. Hey, you try having your vitals kicked by a brat. Tetsuro protested, let me tell you, it's no fun. Oh, just shut up and kill the brat already. Kodama snarled. Tomo finally staggered to his feet, although he was walking very gingerly and wincing every now and then. It made Naruto feel slightly guilty to have broken the rule of the unspoken bro code, never use the nutcracker. 0030020010 a.m. Loud buzzer echoed in Naruto's ears as the clock hit 0 and abruptly, the field flickered and shimmered before a pair of chakra mutations appeared in the forest. Ones he recognized. Berserk Fox Squirrel, and Megura Wagira, he breathed in dread. The two boss monsters that had taken him everything to defeat separately now stood together, looking even meaner than the last time he had faced them. And for good reason. LV-20 Berserk Fox Squirrel, LV-21 Megura Wagira, the massive mole. Oh come on. I killed them already, he yelled loudly in exasperation, as well as a little fear. The levels of the two monsters had been really boosted for some reason. Warning. Due to oversaturation of chakra by more than one Chunin level shinobi or more than 3 genin level shinobi for an extended period of time, the strongest variants of the strongest monsters in areas 1 and 2 have been summoned. While within your capability to slay, they also receive bonuses to their stats for every person above Chunin level in the training ground. It is advisable to flee at this point in time. What the hell are those monsters? Why are all of you here? Weren't you supposed to be keeping an eye on the perimeter? How should I know, dumbass? Standing squabbling in the middle of the forest were 14 adults, all wearing black spandex. All of them were retired Chunin or Genin, which really explained why the timer had started so low. With 14 ninja and kunoichi pumping out chakra with presence concealment jutsu for who knows how long, it wasn't any wonder that they'd somehow supercharged the chakra mutations. I'm outta here, he said and sped away. Get him, cried most of the idiots who had caused the situation in the first place. They charged after the blonde orphan, ignoring the mutations. After all, they had killed the others easily. Why would these be any different? Big mistake. With a shrill screech of rage, the Berserk Fox Squirrel launched itself at the closest person to it, digging in its claws and attempting to rip at his throat. He screamed and thrashed his arms, sending the creature flying off of him with a solid punch to its jaw. Fuck. What the hell, he screamed. While the attention of the majority of the adult shinobi fell on the overt threat, Megura Wagira tunneled underground, emerging to drag another one of the spandex-clad ninja underground with a scream. Son of a bitch. Why is this happening? It's your fault, you morons. Naruto roared before he ran headfirst into an invisible wall. Swearing like a sailor and rubbing his abused nose, he glared and observed it. Average barrier ninjutsu, a barrier made of pure chakra energy. It is used to either keep people out or keep someone inside the location encased by the barrier. This particular one is of average strength and can be destroyed by overloading it with chakra-based attacks. In other words, launch a lot of ninjutsu at it and watch it shatter like a glass wall. DUR, 1500/1500 regeneration, 50 DUR/per minute. Special skills, resist ninjutsu, 30%, resist physical, 30%. Hell in a hand basket. Doton, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto growled, slamming a hand on the ground, causing 15 clones to shoot up from it in an explosion of earth and grass. Bombard the damn barrier so we can get out of here, he ordered them. I'll hold off the moron brigade and the damn mutations. As the Iwa Bunshin started to volley Gensetsukan and Dangon at the barrier, Naruto turned around to see that the group of ninja retirees had somehow managed to save their kidnapped friend, but were only barely able to fend off the rampaging squirrel and marauding mole. Might as well help them. Naruto thought with a sigh, futon, senfukyu. Raising his hand to his mouth, he fired 3 swirling balls of wind at Megura Wagira, which slammed into its nose. The giant mole unleashed a pain-screeching wail of pain and sent 3 of the spandex-clad ninja retirees flying with one swipe of its paws. Gah! Gubu! Ayya! Damn you, demon brat, one kunoichi yelled at him, right, you and you, handle the damn squirrel. You and you hold off the supersized mole. The rest of us will do what we came to do and kill the demon brat. The Spandex Brigade obeyed her, 2 men drawing their ninjato to deal with the berserk fox squirrel, while 2 other men and a kunoichi moved to contain Meguro Wagira. The rest turned to face Naruto, who snarled at them. Once again, just to be absolutely clear here, this is your fault, he shouted angrily, gesturing at the 2 powerful mutations. And how do you figure that out, demon brat? Tomo asked condescendingly. Because this place was closed for chakra saturation, numbskull. The blonde orphan stated, it could barely handle me coming in and firing off ninjutsu like crazy, so having you lot coming in and using concealment jutsu for who knows how long refilled the saturation to what it was before I got started again and summoned those things, more powerful versions of the alpha monsters that I killed. Thanks for that, dumbass. Now I'm gonna have to start from scratch. Kill the brat, one of the Spandex squad shouted. Katan, Gokaku. 3 of the men fired the well-known fire jutsu at Naruto, all of them using the fireball form. It was a weakness of most people to only use that form, or so Asuma-sensei had told him. They used the fireball form rather than the flamethrower form because of aesthetics. He thought the word Asuma had used was. He didn't know what it meant, but it seemed to make the bearded Jonin irritated. Now that the Uchiha were reduced to a single member, Sasuke team, the only clan that specialized in Katan Jutsu were the Sarutobi, so it was logical to assume that it offended Asuma's pride to see a versatile Katan Jutsu misused so. Rolling out of the way of the fireballs, Naruto countered with a swarm of Gensetsukan that forced the attackers to scatter slightly. One stone stave even pierced through one man's leg. Target leg pierced through. Status, bleeding, inflicted. Target mobility reduced by 20%. Son of a bitch. Get that little bastard. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto said, forming the cross-hand sign of the jutsu. 5 clones appeared and charged the enemy while the original ran through hand signs for his strongest futon jutsu. Futon, Detapa. The air around Naruto was compressed into a blast of wind that flew away from him and sent some of the more scattered members flying into trees. Meanwhile the clones were engaging the other retirees with more Gensetsukan, using the staves to augment their lack of reach. Shadow clones? Rock clones? Rock staves? Who the hell is teaching this demon brat all these jutsu? Tomo yelled. Just then, the Iwa Bunshin shattered the barrier with a synchronized volley of well-placed Doton, Dangon. This dismayed the Spandex Brigade, especially when a squad of ANBU blurred into existence around them and soundlessly binding them with some kind of paralyzing jutsu before following up with a jutsu that Naruto recognized, Suiton Ninpo, Mijuame Bakujo. It bound the Spandex-clad ninja by their hands and feet. Uzumaki-san. The cat-masked ANBU said with a nod as she casually beheaded the berserk fox squirrel, with her ninjato. I trust you are unharmed? Why yeah that I'm fine, Nico-san. Naruto stammered, not believing that the powerful squirrel had been killed in less than 2 seconds. Another member of her team, Saru, electrocuted Meguro Wagira, with a powerful Raiton jutsu, killing it instantly. Note to self, do not piss off the ANBU. Naruto thought before correcting himself. Second note to self, do not piss the ANBU enough for them to get really serious about catching you. Good. My comrades will deal with these criminals. The purple-haired woman stated disdainfully, you should return to your home, Hokage-sama will no doubt want to debrief you in person. Hi, Nico-san. Naruto nodded obediently. ANBU technically weren't a part of the usual shinobi chain of command, but they were still ninja and any civilian, as he was at the moment, had to obey an order given by a ninja if it had to do with village security, and Naruto knew that this definitely counted. Leaving the training ground, he sighed in aggravation. This was the second time in very recent times that his training had been interrupted by a bunch of morons, and this time he didn't even have any quest rewards or EXP to go along with it, which was actually odd. "Hey Naruto." "What's up?" a familiar voice called out to him. The blond boy looked around to see Tenten waving at him as she jogged over to walk next to him. "Ah, nothing much," he sighed, "just some idiots who put the chakra saturation of TG-13 back up to maximum, so everything will be stronger again." "That sucks." The weapons expert winced. "Well, at least you'll be able to challenge yourself again." "True." Naruto allowed, "You out on an errand?" "Yup. Doing a delivery." Tenten nodded, "To you actually." "The last part of the storm suit you bought, the shoulder armor?" "Dad decided to replace it with something a little better. I'll show you when we get to your place." When they entered Naruto's apartment, Tenten unrolled a scroll and unsealed a shoulder plate similar to the one he had bought, but it had several lines of Fuinjutsu written into the underside that had various effects, such as increasing the density of the armor when it was struck by physical attacks, as well as reducing the weight of the clothes to almost nothing. "Wow, got any reason why your dad suddenly wanted to give me this?" Naruto asked, touched by the gesture. "He said something about you likely being a magnet for trouble, so you need better armor than average or something like that." The brunette grinned, seeing the boy pout. "It isn't like I asked for those damn Nukenin to attack us." Naruto groused with his pout on full blast. "I know Naruto." Tenten laughed, "By the way, where's Asuma-sensei? He usually drops in on us by this point." "He left on a mission this morning." Naruto informed her. "He said he should be gone for about a week." "Shame. I was looking forward to more lessons." The kunoichi commented with a sigh, "I can't believe it took Gai-sensei this long to get me a ninjutsu tutor. A whole year. Didn't him teaching that Rock Lee guy take up a lot of his time?" Naruto pointed out, "From what Iruka-sensei and you have said, the only thing he has going for him is taijutsu, so getting it up to a point that he doesn't need ninjutsu or genjutsu must have really eaten into his time." The weapons mistress sighed. I know, and I don't really begrudge Lee that. I mean, he tries so damn hard that you can't complain about it even if he does take up most of Gai-sensei's time. It's just that if he knew he would be spending most of his time with Lee, you'd have thought he'd have arranged tutors for me and Niji. Maybe he didn't know initially, but got caught up in teaching Lee." Naruto suggested, "I've heard that he's overenthusiastic about things." Tenten snorted at that gross understatement of one Mato guy. "And Lee as well," now she came to think about it. "True enough." She said with a chuckle, "I'd better head home. Oto-san is getting me to help him forging your sword. It'll be a great weapon, I promise. I'm looking forward to seeing it, Ten-chan," he said before clapping a hand over his mouth when he realized he had called her by a nickname without her permission. While not as rude as referring to her without honorifics without permission, it was still pretty rude, and he knew very well how strong one Higurashi Tenten was, perhaps better than she did herself. Much to his surprise, she blushed a bit and cleared her throat. "Ahem. Well, you'd better. See ya next time you have to come to the shop." Naruto stared after Tenten in puzzlement as she quickly left his apartment, still blushing slightly. What the heck had that been about? Shrugging at what he labeled as another addition to the weird girl habits folder that he had mentally allocated all such incidences since he started paying attention to females. Needless to say, as Naruto wasn't the sharpest tool in the drawer when it came to noticing subtle hints and reading body language and facial expressions, this folder was fairly large. A knock on the door came about 5 minutes later and Naruto welcomed the Hokage into his home. The old man looked tired and drawn, with echoes of residual fury and worry in his eyes. "Ah, Naruto-kun," Sarutobi said with a sigh, "So, once again, we have people ambushing you inside of TG-13. This is becoming something of a habit, my boy. Not due to any fault of my own." The academy student crossed his arms stubbornly. "Quite so, but it has happened twice. And that is twice too often." The elderly Hokage said firmly, I will have a barrier placed around the training ground so you will be able to detect the presence of anyone with active chakra within it. It will be keyed to you, so no one else will be able to use it. Should this occur again, however, I will be forced to prohibit you from entering TG-13. Am I understood, Naruto-kun? Hi, Gigi. Naruto replied, not happy about it, but understanding his grandfather figure's position. Very good. Now the Hokage sat on an armchair. Please tell me your side of the story. The 14 morons that have cut a story from white cloth, I am sure, so hearing your side will be enlightening. Naruto launched into a tale of his time in the training ground today, what little of it there was, and what the spandex-clad weirdos had done, as well as a modest account of his own actions to take care of them. What I don't get was why they were wearing spandex of all things. Naruto added once he finished. They couldn't sneak their active-duty ninja outfits past their spouses or had sent them to the laundry. Sarutobi smiled with macabre amusement. One of them owned a clothing store and was able to get some spandex suits that were surplus out of the storeroom. All of them were, as you suspected, retirees from the ninja forces. Forcibly retired due to PTSD or some other condition, mostly. What Sarutobi neglected to tell Naruto was that all 14 of the idiots had also been retired forcibly due to their inability to accept that Naruto was merely the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, not the great demon fox itself. They had all been the most outspoken about it in the force and had been nails that stuck out. Sarutobi, by kindly retiring them due to stress, had made a silent point to the other, more quiet members of the forces 12 years ago, shut up about Naruto being the demon fox because it wasn't true. If you can't, get out or be hammered out. As he sat and spoke with his surrogate grandson, Yamanaka Inoichi was interviewing the families of the conspirators to see if they had had any inkling of their wayward family members' intentions. Marino Ibiki was handling the interrogation of the Spandex Brigade, to use Naruto's amusing nomenclature. Sarutobi expected confessions on his desk by the time he got back to the tower. Even if they were mostly out of shape and horribly out of practice, the fact that Naruto-kun was able to hold off 14 shinobi at once while breaking a barrier is an incredible feat, the old man thought proudly. I think that a new jutsu scroll would be appropriate here, as I thought it would. I had a stroll through my jutsu library before coming here. Naruto-kun, he said with a smile and pulled out a scroll. You have markedly improved your skills in the past few months and this incident proves it beyond any shade of doubt. Take this as a reward for making this old man proud of you. Thank you, Gigi. Naruto hugged his grandfather figure excitedly. What jutsu is it? It's a futon jutsu, futon, Fujin Hiki, wind style, wind blade wall. The Hokage replied, it compresses the air in front of you into a solid wall of air that blocks incoming attacks. Once you master the basics, you can have it sprout blades to stab anyone who crashes into it. You can even set it up to appear in any location within your line of sight. Cool. I had noticed that you had very little in the way of defensive jutsu, so this is a step to rectify that. Sarutobi said with a nod. Be warned, however, this is a B-rank technique and requires more finesse than your Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. It might take you a while to use even the most basic form, but I am confident you will be able to manage it. Once the Hokage left, with an admonition to his grandson to get some sleep, Naruto tried to learn the new jutsu. And failed. Many apologies, the gamer is down for maintenance and updating. You are still able to use skills and view your stats, but all other aspects are frozen. Emergency warnings are active, so any dangers not covered by your skills will be made known to you. The estimated time until updates and maintenance are completed is 12 hours, 30 minutes. What the hell? Naruto roared. Meanwhile, interrogation cell, ANBUTNI HQ Yamaguchi Tetsuro whimpered as Marino Ibiki loomed over him. The scarred Takujo's face smirked down at him as he cracked his knuckles. I must thank you for this, Yamaguchi. Ibiki said conversationally, Idiots like you allow me to keep my skills in good working order for when actual threats need to be discovered. Something I'm betting that you wish you had done. Tetsuro, regrettably, agreed with him there. Now, as I am feeling generous, I will allow you a single chance to tell me everything about your laughable plan to assassinate our Jinchuriki. The scarred man stated, in other words, we can do this the easy way or the real easy way. Up to you which way we go. The spandex-clad man debated his option here, weighing pride against being tortured by the most skilled interrogator in the TNI section of ANBU, and came to a conclusion. What do you want to know? The next day Hokage's office, Hokage Tower. This is the result of the interrogations conducted by myself, Yamanaka Inoichi, and Mitarashi Anko, Hokage-sama. Ibiki stated as he placed a pair of scrolls on the desk. One of them spilled his guts before I could even do more than mildly threaten him. With the information I got from him, I was able to authorize the use of the Yamanaka clan's mind-reading techniques. The scarred man regretted the fact that it was illegal to use the Yamanaka clan's Hijitsu on Konoha. Citizens with only the suspicion of wrongdoing or even minor misdemeanors. And unfortunately, civilians and retired shinobi trespassing into a Category 1 restricted areas, open to all active shinobi but not civilians or retired shinobi, without permission, was only a misdemeanor. Using a jutsu in a public place was another offense, but since the Kekai ninjutsu they'd used only kept people in or out without doing any damage, it was catalogued as a misdemeanor on the same lines as disturbing the public peace. Taken on their own, both actions were fairly minor crimes that would have resulted in the group only facing fines and possibly a few days in holding cells. If someone hadn't spilled the beans anyway. But since one of them had sung like the proverbial canary, Ibiki could, and had, used that confession to use the skill of Inoichi to parse through the minds of the other 13 members of the Spandex Brigade. He had to credit the boy for his to-the-point nomenclature, and find out exactly what they were up to. Sarutobi folded his hands on his desk. And the summary? All 14 are guilty of premeditated attempted murder against one Uzumaki Naruto. The scarred Takujo stated simply, his tone containing no emotion, merely reciting the facts as they had been discovered, as well as numerous cases of minor harassment, intimidation and price gouging of the same individual. It's only a shame that they aren't active duty ninja, so we can't simply court-martial them. There was a touch of disdain added to that final sentence. The Hokage privately agreed with Ibiki's opinion, but unlike Danzo, he respected the rule of law and didn't twist it to suit his vengeful vendetta, particularly when Naruto hadn't received anything worse than a few scratches from the encounter. If they had managed to seriously harm Naruto, on the other hand, he would have given Mitarashi Anko free rein to use them as instructional test dummies for the newest recruits in TNI. She had been asking for some prisoners to practice on recently and... Shaking himself out of the wistful daydream, Sarutobi nodded at Ibiki. Good work. Now, how to punish them? There's enough evidence to send them to the Broken Branch. Ibiki suggested absently. The Broken Branch was the civilian equivalent to the Konoha Strict Correctional Facility, where ninja cases severe enough to warrant imprisonment outside of Konoha itself, yet mild enough to not warrant being sent to the Hozukijo or executed, were imprisoned. Whereas the KSCF was in the middle of an active volcano, the Broken Branch was in the middle of the largest lake in Hai no Kuni, as the water walking exercise was usually beyond the skills of even chakra-active civilians. True. Sarutobi nodded magnanimously, and for the civilians among them that will probably be the best idea, but a third of them are retired shinobi, which would make escape a definite possibility. The head of TNI snorted. He sincerely doubted that any of the Spandex Brigade, he made a note to have that nickname appended to their files, could water walk more than 2 steps without losing concentration and taking a swim. Then again, when one was locked in prison, training would likely be one of the few things one could do to pass the time, and even the most out-of-shape retiree was a danger to any other civilian contained in the prison. And their crimes are just barely mild enough to not warrant the KSCF. Plus, in their current shape, I doubt they'd survive the conditions it would put them in. The Hokage mused. Hozuki-jo is of course out of the question, and the internal prison cells are somewhat full at the moment with former members of the Civilian Council, at least until their crimes are fully processed and they can be transferred to the Broken Branch themselves. Ibiki smirked grimly with satisfaction. The retired members of the Civilian Council had thought that their little schemes were all buried and hidden from prying eyes. Well, the ninja counselors had been more than happy to carry out a bit of forensic paperwork and, wouldn't you know it, there was a positive plethora of crimes committed by the former members of the Civilian Council: double book accounting, bribery, embezzlement of public funds and other varied and distasteful crimes. It was actually a bit surprising that they'd managed to get away with it for so long. Ibiki personally blamed it on both the chaos surrounding the long-term effects of rebuilding after Kyuubi attack nearly leveled the village, and the focus that was put on keeping an eye out for outside threats after the Hyuga incident. If you focus too much on watching for enemies at the gates, you tend to miss the ones forming within the walls. Then there were the cream of the crop, the conspiracy charges. Conspiracy to undermine the strength of the weapon of the Konohagakure shinobi forces, otherwise known as the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, Uzumaki Naruto. He thought to himself grimly. While he wasn't a fan of classifying the boy, or any of his fellow shinobi, as if they were a mindless tool, it was what the paperwork required in order to get what needed done. That, and there was a bit of poetic irony at getting the people that had refused to treat the kid as a human being by classifying him as something else. After all, military assets were incredibly important to a shinobi village's survival, and sabotaging them was a capital offense. He wondered how those fat and arrogant former counselors would appreciate a life sentence to Spartan quarters and bland food. Not well, he knew. In an unrelated development, the few remaining troublesome elements on council had hunkered down, likely hoping to wait out the storm. There are still free cells in the maximum security wing, he pointed out. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. The ones designed for A-rank ninja that are suspended above a pit of fire and where the occupants are fed via random duct chutes? Yes. As much as I am tempted to allow it, I cannot. The old man sighed regretfully. Still, I think I can throw together a prison convoy sooner rather than later. Say 2 days. But where to keep them until the former council members are moved? I could see my way to keeping them in TNI. Ibiki offered with a slight shrug, if it's just for 2 or 3 days. Business is slow. That would be very good of you, Ibiki-kun. Sarutobi smiled. Make sure Anko-chan knows that they aren't for her to practice on. Hi. The Takujo nodded. Anko would pout and complain, but he had long years of practice at ignoring her antics to draw on. How's the kid? He was unharmed by either the chakra mutations or the spandex brigade. Sarutobi answered with a sigh. I gave him a B-rank futon jutsu as a reward for doing well, although he was irritated that all of his hard work in training ground 13 was negated thanks to a bunch of idiots wearing spandex, to use his own words. Ibiki nodded absently. It was a perfectly understandable response to having several months' worth of effort undone in less than a day. Particularly, when it's due to someone else interfering. He still plans to tackle it again? Of course. The Hokage smiled at the memory of the determined set to his surrogate grandson's jaw as he declared his intent to conquer the 13th training ground. Once Naruto-kun sets his mind to something, it is very, very rare that he is dissuaded or prevented from accomplishing it. It's a good trait to have in a shinobi. A lot of the brats these days don't have the grit needed to keep to it. Ibiki agreed absently. With your permission, I had better be getting back to TNI. Anko will be getting .ansi.by now. By all means. Sarutobi nodded. The last time Anko got antsy, she went on a sake and dango binge that took 3 of her monthly paychecks to cover. As Ibiki left the office, Sarutobi regretfully returned his attention to his never-to-be sufficiently bedamned paperwork. He longed for the chance to sit back and read one of Jiraiya-kun's masterpieces, Ika Ika, but the necessities of this damn job prevented him from doing so until after lunch, at the earliest. Uzumaki Naruto's apartment, Hokage Apartments. A single eyebrow twitched as one Uzumaki Naruto stared at the display in front of him, which persistently insisted that there was still a good 6 hours left before the update was complete, whatever a system update was when it was at home. Aaggh, he groaned, what a pain in the ass. Looking around his living room, he got up and padded, dressed in his relatively new training clothes, into a modestly sized room that had been the smaller bedroom of the apartment. He had converted it into a sort of armory shortly after moving in. All of his kunai and shuriken were stored here, when he wasn't at the academy or in a training ground, which freed up room in his inventory. Also there was an older mannequin that had what Tenten and her father referred to as the storm armor on it. Naruto had placed the updated armored shoulder pad atop the top section after he had received it from the weapons mad girl. He had to admit that the dark royal blue of the suit looked intimidating. He doubted that he'd bother with the suit for the lowly D ranks that would make up the majority of a genin's early introduction to the life of a shinobi. He'd noticed several groups of genin running around doing various chores while being supervised by a jonin and had, thanks to his boosted INT, connected the dots. Thank you, gamer. He'd have to find a suitable D rank outfit, which required another visit to the Higurashi store at some point. After accidentally calling Tenchan the previous day, he was a bit worried about that. Girls, in his experience, hated it when you called them by a nickname that they hadn't given you permission to use. Resting on a rack next to the suit were Sumire and Tsubaki, his dual Tonto. He was still only level 14 thanks to the stupid update, and he wanted to use them in anger, against actual enemies rather than target Kuin dummies. He stared longingly at them before sighing and heading to practice his Fuinjutsu and calligraphy. 6 hours of practice later. Looking up from a stack of Type 1 storage scrolls that he had churned out in the past few hours, Naruto grinned as he saw a screen appear with 2 simple words on it. Update complete. Finally, he yelled and pressed the screen, making it disappear and another one appear in its place. Thank you for your patience. The gamer has finished updating. Any changes relevant to you are listed below. Jutsu that have been fully leveled or are level 80 plus can now be invoked without vocal intonation. It will add 10 CP to the chakra cost, however. You will now be assigned up to 5 daily quests each day. Completion of these quests before the end of the day grants you a cash reward in addition to the quest rewards, as well as a 10% chance at receiving a rare jutsu, weapon or item of clothing at the end of the week if all 7 days worth of daily quests are completed. Random encounters will now be further randomized, with random numbers of monsters depending on your level. The actions of the Spandex Brigade have raised the levels at Training Ground 13 to account for your current strength. As this is through no fault of your own, your level cap has been raised to level 17 until you graduate as an apology. The relationship system has been updated, with females possessing a heart next to their names that will be colored to indicate their affection for you. Black for negative feelings, gray for neutral feelings, blue for positive feelings and pink for romantic feelings. Additionally, if that person is in love with you, the heart will expand and contract slowly. Note that the color indicates only the general area of the person's feelings for you, not the exact level. For that, please regard the relationship screen. At the end of the day, you will be shown a list of all levels earned in skills and jutsu on that day. This is to allow you to gain an overall grasp of your leveling habits. A copy of all jutsu that you know has been placed in your inventory so you can find them and then inform the Hokage. These duplicates cannot be absorbed to learn a jutsu or improve your understanding of the jutsu. This will also be done for all future jutsu that you learn. Naruto whistled. Those were some impressive updates. He didn't understand why the entire gamer needed to be disabled to have all of these updates put in, as it had that auto-update thingy, didn't it? Meh. Didn't matter. Closing the window, an eyebrow twitched as yet another window popped up in its place. Calculating levels gained over the last 12 hours, reading Konohagakure Core IDOS logs. Reading activity logs of designate Uzumaki Naruto, the gamer. Calculating accumulated experience. Estimating levels. Done. Calligraphy has gained 2 levels. Basic Fuinjutsu has gained 2 levels. Cooking has gained a level. Detect Bloodlust has gained a level. Intermediate Hokage Taijutsu has gained a level. Observe has gained a level. Futon Senfukyu has gained a level. Doton Gensetsukan has gained a level. Holy crap. Naruto whistled, now that's impressive. Oh. The jutsu Gigi gave me yesterday. Stampeding into his bedroom, he grabbed the scroll from where he'd left it resting on his nightstand and grinned as the usual window popped up. You have acquired the Futon Fujinhiki Jutsu Scroll. Do you wish to learn this? Note, you are now limited to learning 3 jutsu per day. Regular skills are not limited in this manner. A duplicate will be placed in your inventory. Aw man. Naruto complained before shrugging. He couldn't actually remember ever getting more than 3 jutsu scrolls a day anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal at the moment. With that thought in his mind, he hit the Y button. As always, it was a beautiful sight to see the scroll dissolve into blue shards and spiral around his body before vanishing inside his chest, but he also saw a tendril of blue shards entering a space that he usually pulled his inventory items from to his right. Huh. You have learned Futon Fujinhiki. Futon Fujinhiki, active, LV1, Midnight, Wind Style. Wind Blade Wall is an advanced application of wind elemental manipulation that initially creates a wall made from condensed wind in front of the user. This is one of the wall techniques, with the others being Doton, Doriahiki, Suiton, Suijinhiki and Katon, Karyuhiki. There is no wall technique for Raiton Jutsu. With time and experience, the user can strengthen the wall and even make it cut anyone or anything that touches it with thousands of wind blades that run across its surface, as well as erecting it anywhere within the user's line of sight. Hand signs. Dragonbird Dragonrat Dragonbird, range, 1 meter from user. Creates a meter-long, foot-wide and meter-tall wall of wind between the user and the enemy. Has 55 durability points. Weak against Katon Jutsu, doubling the damage of any such jutsu that passes through it. Very effective against Raiton Jutsu. Damage suffered from such jutsu reduced by half. Costs 67 CP to activate and 14 CP per minute to maintain. Naruto winced a bit as the amount of knowledge needed for the powerful wind jutsu flowed into his mind and caused a mild headache. This was only the second B-rank jutsu he had ever learned, so it wasn't all that surprising that learning the details of such a powerful jutsu would cause a bit of pain, at least until he got used to it. I can't wait to give this a try. Naruto grinned, but first. He pulled out a few scroll racks and stacked the scrolls from his inventory on them, with a rack dedicated to each level of jutsu. The E-rank scrolls held the Henge, Naanuk, Kawarimi and Kakuremino no Jutsu, with most of the rest falling into the C-rank jutsu section. He idly wondered why more jutsu weren't in the D-rank section as he placed his 2 B-ranks in their rack. Quite a few seemed underpowered. Tob C-rank, but he recalled that power wasn't solely what determined jutsu rankings. There was also chakra consumption, chakra control requirements, adaptability, and other criteria that determined the rank of a jutsu. Okay, destructive power was a pretty big benchmark of the rank of a jutsu, ninjutsu anyway, but Naruto had learned of the other ways people used when ranking jutsu. Well then, let's go and see how different the training ground is. The blonde orphan muttered and headed for his armory. He grabbed his kunai holster and filled it with projectiles, live ones, before turning to regard Tsubaki and Samaire. As he wasn't an actual ninja yet, he legally couldn't walk around with weapons strapped to him, aside from kunai and shuriken. But the loophole was quite simple: storage scrolls. He grabbed his tanto and sealed them inside a scroll, sliding it inside his lesser Fujin jacket's pocket before heading out. The glares from the civilian populace had increased, which was a scary thing to happen considering they had been on death glares beforehand. Naruto could almost feel his detect bloodlust skills EXP bar rising like a barometer in the desert at midday. Gotta love the wonderful glares from those ever so lovable civilians. He smirked to himself. Naruto knew that his bloodthirst detection skill had saved his ass several times and that the civilians glaring at him had helped to level it up quite nicely. Those little nuggets of information would probably give any and all of those who glared at him a heart attack. The smug grin on his face made several of those people glaring at him redouble their glares in fury. Detect bloodlust has leveled up. LV9, LV10. He. Irony, you are a wonderful bitch sometimes. Particularly when you're on my side. Naruto thought to himself as he purposely added a little skip to his step, wondering absently just how much extra skill grinding he could pull out of this. Gate into Training Ground 13. Naruto's eyebrow twitched as he heard the snarls of monsters inside the training ground. He was really hoping that his Gigi punished those morons of the Spandex Brigade for undoing all of his hard work on the training ground, and even ended up making it worse. Reaching out, Naruto tapped the gate and made the window appear. Reading it made him growl in irritation. Training Area 13, which area do you want to enter? Area 1, LV12+, Area 2, LV13+, Area 3, LV14+, Area 4, LV15+, Area 5, LV16+, Area 6, LV17+, Area 7, LV19+, Area 8, LV20+, Area 9, LV21+, Area 10, LV22+, Area 11, LV24+, Area 12. LV25+, Area 13, LV27+, the levels of the individual areas hadn't just gone up, they'd shot up like weeds. Area 13 had previously been restricted to level 20 and over, and now it was level 27 and over. Gah, he was going to have to prank someone when he got out of this place just to blow off some steam, he was so pissed. Gamer's mind, activated. Calmly does it, calmly does it. He chanted to himself as his temper was forcefully brought to heel. Say what you will, but that power was just too damn useful at times. Reaching out, he jabbed Area 1, and the gate creaked open, just as eerily as it had done the first time. Squaring his shoulders and palming a handful of shuriken in each hand, Naruto advanced into the first sub-area. In terms of appearance, the forest hadn't changed, but the atmosphere was slightly oppressive. He could almost feel the malice coming from the chakra mutations in the place. Okay, so the original monsters here were squirrels, he muttered as he advanced, wonder if that's different now. Skirting around the trees, Naruto spotted an iron-banded wooden chest sitting at the base of an especially thick tree that he could have sworn hadn't been there the last time he'd been through the sub-area. Evidently the chakra saturation had mutated some of the trees as well now. Cautiously approaching the chest, the blond boy barely touched it when his detect bloodthirst skill screamed at him to dodge to the left. Throwing himself to the side, Naruto gaped at what had lunged at him. It was, superficially, a rabid red squirrel, except it was as large as the more powerful, gnashing gray squirrels, and had several bone plates across its body that seemed to act like armor in addition to the razor-sharp claws and fangs. LV-12 ravening rabid red squirrel, so the monsters getting powered up added a word to their names? Weird. With a roll, a jump and two well-trained flicks of his wrists, Naruto pelted the squirrel with 10 shuriken all at once from a meter in the air, something he had never tried before. Usually it was only 3 shuriken per hand, not 5, so he was looking forward to seeing if he developed a skill from it. He could have tried to create it at the shuriken jutsu range at his apartment building, but he had discovered that it took ages to make a skill using repeated actions outside of combat, whereas in the heat of combat, they developed in a few fights, which could be as short as 10 minutes or as long as an hour. The threat of being harmed by the chakra mutations was somehow not a concern for Naruto. The giant chakra mutation, now the size of a large dog, shrieked as several of the metal-throwing stars pelted its body, sinking deep into its flesh. Once it recovered, it glared at Naruto and bared its fangs before pouncing at him claws first. Drawing a pair of kunai, Naruto danced around the mutation, scoring cut after cut on it while avoiding the swipes of its claws and froth-filled mouth. Although it did score a couple of glancing blows on him, a ravening rabid red squirrel, finally fell, covered in cuts. You have defeated a ravening rabid red squirrel. You gain 300 EXP. As a result of a specific action, you have learned the Cluster Throw skill. Cluster Throw, active, LV1, midnight, throw enough mud at a wall, and some of it will stick. That is the basis behind this little technique. It is only usable with shuriken and kunai. By throwing 5 shuriken/kunai from each hand, you can deal great damage to the enemy. While it is possible to combine this technique with quick draw techniques, it is impossible to gain the full effect from them without possessing a holster on each leg. 50% chance to fumble the shuriken. Adds +2 to the damage of each shuriken that strikes its target. User suffers from an aim penalty of -5 to hit at long and medium ranges. As a result of repeated actions, you have learned the Short Blades Mastery skill. Short Blades Mastery, passive, LV1, midnight. A short blade is defined as any bladed weapon the length of a tanto or shorter. These weapons include tanto, yoroidoshi, kabutawari, kaiken and kunai. All of these weapons are seen as being weak or useless compared with larger weapons, such as swords, spears or even maces, but in the hands of a master, these short weapons can be just as deadly. Adds +1 to all damage dealt by the user while wielding short blades. All skills involving short-bladed weapons have a 5% higher experience gain. The chance of learning skills involving short blades is raised by 10% while wielding them. Okay, this is so damn cool. Naruto grinned. Now what's in this chest? Opening it was rather interesting. Golden light shone from the contents for a moment before dimming and fading away, revealing a belt with a bronze circular buckle, a stack of Ryo notes and a necklace shaped like a biwa. Belt of lesser improved muscular regeneration, accessory a belt that uses a cunning application of Fuinjutsu to enhance the growth and development of the user's muscles. At least that was attempted. What the creator of this item actually got was a belt that improved the regeneration of the muscles after exertion. Needless to say, he wasn't happy about creating this by accident, but it still sold well. His naming sense sucked though. DUR, 60/60ths, while worn, the user's training to do with STR has an increased effect, improving by 25%. Charm of Benzaden, accessory Benzaden, commonly known as Benton of the Seven Lucky Gods, is commonly depicted with a musical instrument, typically either a biwa or a vina. This charm has been blessed by one of her priests and calls upon her aspect as a goddess of monetary fortune to bring about good luck in monetary gains. This effect raises the amount of money the wearer finds in treasure chests and from fallen monsters. Raises monetary loot from treasure chests and monsters by 10%. Useful. He commented as he pulled the necklace on and snapped the belt closed around his waist before picking up the cash, which looked a bit thicker than it did before he put the necklace on. You gain 450 Ryo. Well then, let's get to clearing out this area. Naruto grinned as he collected the loot from the fallen squirrel, just some Ryo. The act of clearing out the first sub-area of TG-13 was somewhat cathartic for Naruto, who was feeling more than slightly irritated at the Spandex Brigade's stupidity. Hadn't they ever been told not to use ninjutsu in a chakra-saturated area like TG-13 before? It boggled belief. He took down 3 more, ravening rabid red squirrels, in quick succession, suffering only minor wounds in doing so, about 50 HP all told. After he collected the loot from the last corpse, more Rio, all he'd been getting from the squirrels, he suddenly found himself in the middle of a clearing and facing 3 chakra mutations, 2 ravening rabid red squirrels, and what looked like a more heavily mutated version of the gnashing gray squirrel. This one had very, very large fangs and an equally large head to carry them. LV-13 Nasty Gnashing Gray Squirrel. What is with the alliterating naming sense here? Shaking off that thought, Naruto charged in with a kunai in each hand. With a snarl, the gray squirrel seemed to order the smaller red ones forward to countercharge him. Dodging 2 red squirrels at once was hard work, much harder than when he only had a single opponent. Fortunately for him, the chakra mutations had all the teamwork of a slab of butter and a saw, i.e. none whatsoever. This allowed him to make the 2 squirrels attack each other some of the time when they swiped and missed him. Eventually, Naruto managed to wear the 2 down and jam kunai into the back of their heads, killing them. He had a moment to bask in the glory before he got bowled over by the charge of the nasty gnashing gray squirrel. He was forced to leave his kunai in the heads of the ravening rabid red squirrels, as he grappled with the gray monster, which was at least half again as big as its weaker companions. Get dash, whack. Off dash, wham. Of dash, thwack. Me. Naruto roared as he punched the chakra mutation's throat multiple times to emphasize his words. At the last blow, the squirrel finally retreated back with a leap, spitting out flecks of blood that stained its massive teeth. Fuck this. Naruto growled and ran through some hand signs, futon, senfukyu. Bringing his right hand up to his mouth, he fired off 3 wind spheres at the squirrel. It managed to dodge 2, but the third slammed into its tail, severing it when the projectile detonated on impact. The wail of pain from the mutation was deafening. You have blown off a limb. Nasty gnashing gray squirrel is now suffering from the badly bleeding status. Naruto blinked at that. Last time he checked, spiraling wind sphere didn't do that. Making a note to check the entry for the jutsu later, the blonde orphan leapt over to the dead squirrels and ripped his kunai out of their skulls. A passive glance told him that they wouldn't be much good as thrown weapons thanks to the blood all over them. The red squirrels seemed to have developed some kind of thick, sticky blood that reduced the throwing damage of the weapons by quite a bit. That gave him an idea. Discarding them, the academy student ran through more hand signs. Suetun Ninpo, Mijuame Bakujo. He spat a great wad of the sticky water at the squirrel, who was still shrieking in agony. The massive wad of sticky goop, about the size of a toddler, slammed into the face of the monster with a wet thud sound. With a muffled growl, the squirrel tried to bite through the taffy-like substance, only to find its jaws trapped in the goo. It then tried to tear the Mijuame Bakujo from its face, only to discover that doing so trapped its forepaws and left it all but helpless. Visions of all the pranks he could do with this stuff danced through Naruto's mind as he threw kunai and shuriken at the squirrel until it died. Oh boy, he was so looking forward to this. You have slain a nasty gnashing gray squirrel. You gain 450 EXP. You have leveled up. LV-14, LV-15. You have 5 attribute points to spend. Suetun Ninpo, Mijuame Bakujo, has leveled up. LV-2, LV-3. Futon, Senfukyu no Jutsu, has leveled up. LV-2, LV-3. Shuriken Jutsu, has gained a level. LV-15, LV-16. As a result of repeated actions, you have gained access to the evasion skill. Evasion, passive, LV-4, 4.51, being able to tank the attack of an opponent is all very well, but why do that if you don't have to? Dodge, swerve, evade and jump around your enemies as if they weren't even there. Passively raises the chance to evade the taijutsu and bukijutsu attacks of the enemy by 24.5%. Passively raises the chance to evade the shuriken jutsu attacks of the enemy by 20%. Passively raises the chance to evade the ninjutsu attacks of the enemy by 15%. Finally, Naruto practically screamed in joy. Now he could finally wield his Tanto. And maybe his Greater Fujin t-shirt, as well. Then, something occurred to him. Hey, wait a minute. Why the hell did I only fight a gray squirrel? A window popped up right on cue. Chakra oversaturation. Due to the actions of the Spandex Brigade, the training ground has entered oversaturation mode. This means that the area is positively overflowing with chakra, mutating and empowering the denizens that dwell within it even more than a regular saturation would. In order to purge this subarea of chakra for good, you must empty the subarea of chakra mutations every day this week. Then, when you face the subarea boss, you will eliminate the oversaturation and saturation effects for good. Or at least for another decade or so. Happy hunting. One of Naruto's eyes started to twitch rapidly. You have got to be shitting me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.